Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 62. In this episode, we will be talking with Jocelyn Manzanarez. Jocelyn is the owner of a business called Musically Minded. She teaches kids from birth to 5 years old music. Or sometimes she teaches parents how to teach their kids, or teachers how they can incorporate music into their classroom. Jocelyn and I talk about remembering your why, how she pivoted during the coronavirus, and how you can identify your fear to get past it. Stay tuned because I know you're going to love this episode. But first, I gotta know, have you left a review on iTunes yet? It is so important for you to leave a review on iTunes so that people just like you can find this show and listen to it. So head on over to iTunes, leave a review, and screenshot it and send it to me at Ordinary to Badass on Instagram. Thank you so much. And now to the episode. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm glad you're here. Today's guest is Jocelyn Manzanarez. Jocelyn, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have you on the show.
I'm super excited to be here.
So first off, before we go any further, I've got to ask you, do you consider yourself to be ordinary or badass?
Oh man, full badass.
Have you always felt that way?
Probably not. You know, looking back, I probably didn't see myself that way, but growing up being the little sister and always getting seconds on everything, and my sister always got to do everything cool, and I was always kind of left to pick up the slack and do really all the basic tasks at my dad's office, like shredding paper, and she would get to write all the exciting legal information, and not me. I was just shredding paper. But that's okay. That's okay, because I'm glad that I had that experience, because I know what it's like to be ordinary, and I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you just own it. So was there any point that was kind of a changing point for you, or something that helped you realize, like, oh, I'm kind of badass?
So let me tell you about my journey.
Okay, yeah.
So actually, I'm a music teacher, and I got my start as an elementary music teacher. So, just picture an elementary music teacher, okay? I have to say, there's a lot of ordinary music teachers out there. And, I didn't really feel great in that space. It was, I got to admit it, it's kind of a boring job. So I taught, my first year was in Port Orchard, Washington, most difficult year of my life. I was like the worst teacher. And I don't know if the kids knew it or not, but I felt like a total flop. Even though I'd been to college and, I'd studied and learned how to play all these different instruments, I had no practical application, because they don't really teach that in when you're becoming a music teacher. They teach you theories and whatnot, and that really didn't help with the 5'10" sixth grade girl that would walk into my class and tell me how things were. And I'm, as you can't see me, but I'm short, and so it was pretty quick that I was pretty intimidated. So that was a pretty tough year. Went on to move on to a much better job where I taught kindergarten through third grade. And I love that. I mean, a lot better. I definitely felt really like I was more in my space. The kids were about my height. or a little smaller, they would hug me. And so I knew I was in my right place, but I still was a little bit bored. And so I decided after 3 years that I was going to start a business. And I was just going to, I was going to actually first just take a year off and get my master's. And then I realized, you know what? I think I'm into early childhood. I think I like this stuff. So I got into birth through 5, and I started a business called Musically Minded. And I started with 6 babies and their moms in the basement of probably one of the oldest buildings in Maple Valley, Washington. And it was so much fun. I realized I love this stuff. And so I grew the business, and you can definitely ask me questions about that journey. So I'll kind of just leave it there, and you can go ahead and ask me anything. But that was kind of my journey where I kind of took that risk. I was in that, comfy, cushy job. I mean, it was so sweet. Nobody really kept track of me. I was the music teacher. As long as I was there so they could go have their planning time, they didn't care, but I was mediocre. I knew I could be better. And so by leaving it all behind and taking that risk, it really set off what's now a 17-year journey as a small business owner.
So did you know anything about business before you decided to make the leap?
That's funny. So, because no, I knew nothing about business. But the funny thing was, I always wanted to wear business suits. And across from the music building at the University of Montana, where I went to school, was the business building. And I just would look over at that business building, and a few times I'd say to my parents, I'm quitting music and I'm going to be a business major. And they'd say to me, oh gosh, you don't want to do that. And so, I was one of those people, I followed what my parents said. And so I never did it. Right. So it was just so funny that I would start a business. So when I first started the business, my husband, he'd always, from right when he graduated from college, he, got into sales. And so that was kind of a business world. And so I'm over here, I've got these 6 babies, and then I get a childcare center. I start going to the childcare center and teaching music. And a couple months into it, he says, I know you're having a lot of fun, but they haven't paid you. Your invoices haven't been paid in months. And I was like, what? Invoices? I don't even know what that is. So I realized that I had to probably learn about a few business things if I was going to stay in business. And so I'm going to tell you that my husband he literally gave me, I feel like he gave me an MBA over the next few years. And it was fun because he has just sort of a lot of natural business skills. He graduated in psychology. So,
it's funny how that turns out.
Yeah. But he just had sort of a natural knack for it, which I didn't at first even think I did. So it was so hard. The first couple of years of the business was so hard. And I mean, he would get so frustrated with me with some of the stupid mistakes I would make. That invoicing was probably one of the biggest ones. But I mean, I did not even know how to run a business at all. And then what was funny was he saw me having so much fun running my business, which was really playing with kids, that he, after we had our first daughter, Macy, decided, what am I doing selling computers? He was doing great. He was at the top of the company doing so well. He said, this is not what life's about. And so he left his job and took care of our daughter for a year, actually a couple of years. But during that time, I just want to say that anybody out there who is a badass and a mom, or on their way to badass, and they have the word mom attached, dude, it is serious business. And finding ways to parent with this other person that you've decided to have kids with is so hard. So hard, because you each come with so many different, beliefs, and then they're just pushed against each other. So we're raising a kid, we're raising a business, we're trying to grow this business. They're both in their infancy. And we're learning how to be married and be in business together, because at that point, when he left selling computers, he kind of became my bookkeeper, helping with that invoice that wasn't getting paid. So it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
Those first few years.
But what I think is cool about that story is you just leapt, you took a leap and did what you thought was right for you. And then your husband, it like intrigued him and he's like, wait, what am I doing? But sometimes that happens. It's like you are the one to just kind of follow your dream. And then other people are like, wait a minute, I don't want to do what I'm doing. So it's inspiring to people. And I think that's cool.
Yeah. And what was funny was after Eric did that, worked with me for a couple of years and was taking care of Macy, he discovered that he wanted to try something new. And at that point, my business was at a place where I could support us. And so he took the leap of faith and became a financial advisor. It would have never been anything that he would have thought of, but he was able to, again, see what I did. And then he found something he was interested and he went for it. And now he's doing great in that. But I think when he looks back, it's like, how can I help people? And the computers was just not helping people. And I think that's a driving force in so much of this, is to find your purpose, find why you are here, and then how can you make money doing it? Yeah. And so that's really what I've just tried to keep in mind. And now he has gone and done that too. And just empowering other people to recognize you find something you love and you find a way to get paid for it.
Totally. And maybe kind of unbeknownst to you in the beginning, like you just helping people, even though you weren't billing them or sending them the invoices, but then you just provided quality, you were helping them out and not like obsessed with the money. And so maybe that like kept people around long-term.
Well, and I think that, that's still a balance I work on is sometimes I'll get really hooked on the money and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to make some more money. I got to make more money. And I notice as soon as I take the focus off that and I put the focus back on how can I serve people, the money comes and I'm not stressed. It's a really weird thing that happens to me. I don't know if it happens to other people.
But I also think it's a weird dynamic for women. Like money can definitely be a weird dynamic, or you're like, oh, I don't want to charge too much, but then you should also be charging what you're worth, so I think it can always like be a struggle or something you have to pay attention to.
Yes, absolutely.
So back when you were a teacher and you first started, and you felt like you were the worst teacher, or you said a flop in your words, what would you tell another teacher who's feeling that way right now? She's a couple years in and just feeling like she's a flop or a failure.
Yeah. Couple things. Number one, remember why you got into this profession in the first place. I think that's, I believe, a place where you can find endless energy. And when you remember your why, your purpose for why you're doing it, it can fuel you, because it's so easy to get down on all of the things that are negative. Oh, the children are misbehaving. The parents are rude. My administrator never helps me out. All of those things. But if we remember why we're doing what we're doing, then we start to see how can we do it better. So I would recommend, and what really got me through that first year was to seek out other people who have been there, they're in the trenches, and what can you learn from them? Because there's no reason to reinvent this wheel. People have done things and they've found ways to make it work. And that's what I do now is I teach teachers how to bring music into their classroom, because I know what it feels like. I know what it's like to hate Sundays, because Monday's coming.
Right.
And, because of that, I feel like I'm in a place where I can really feel what people have experienced. I can feel that pain. My niece right now is in her first year teaching, and she's struggling with classroom management. And I'm going to tell you that that's the pivotal piece to being a great teacher, is to be able to be an amazing person at mastering a group of people. And so for me, I know that I can feel her pain, and I have to put myself there. And then when I do, I bring in all of the things that I've learned along the way that I would have told that first year teacher, Jocelyn. I would have told her this. And so now I get to tell other people, like my niece Katie, and then she'll have breakthroughs. And it's, I mean, for me, it's just so exciting to know that I'm helping somebody, go on the super highway to progressing their skills. They don't have to linger in this pain, because there's people out there who can help you. So seek out a mentor teacher, not somebody who knows everything, because they're never fun. I mean, they know everything and they've tried it all. And I don't know, like for me, that's a turnoff. Instead, like I want somebody who's also continuing to grow. Like when you get a coach who also has a coach, I love that.
Yes. Yeah. No, because if you know everything and you're not going to grow anymore, it's like, what do you have to offer? I mean, you're going to stunt yourself at some point.
Yeah. So they're probably not a match.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's one thing that either a teacher or a mom can do to bring music into their kids' life, like kids that are birth to 5 years old?
Yeah. You know what you do? Have fun with it. Turn on music that you love and dance and sing along. And the reason, I think one of the coolest things with music is it's a connector. It's a way for adults and kids to spend time together. Think of it as that vehicle. As a parent, not everybody is an early childhood specialist. Not everybody has gone to school and understood, child development and how to interact with kids. I always think, gosh, I wish there were a class that we could all have taken before we have kids, but there isn't. We don't even need a license or a certificate. Right. So what do you do with these kids? If you're, an engineer at Boeing, go to the music. It is a connector, and it's everywhere around the world. It's a way that we can socialize. We can, build relationships. Children can learn language, but the best thing is that you're having fun and you're spending time with your child. And when you do that, no matter the age, whether they're birth, they've just been born, they're 5 years old, or they're 55 years old, when you have those moments and you connect with somebody and you use music as that bridge, it can open up so many doors, and it brings that emotional connection, because music naturally increases, they are endorphins, the release of serotonin, all these feel-good chemicals that are free to us. And everybody wants to feel good, and to be able to find a musical way to bring that into your lives. So I just say, you love Bob Marley, you turn on Bob Marley. You love Zac Brown, turn on Zac Brown. You don't need to go do the Wiggles or, sing Baby Shark for the 50th time. But the biggest thing is really just finding ways to interact with your child using music that you can share, that you get excited about, and they'll feel that excitement.
Yes, I think that's so important. I know how I used to be is I'd be like, well, I can't sing or I can't dance. And I would let that stop me. What would you suggest for those type of people? Or what is something that you could do to like get out of your own shell a little bit and, just enjoy the music?
Yeah. Well, first off, let's recognize that we live in a society that tells us we either belong on the stage or we belong in the audience. And that's important for us to let's just put that out on the table. 400 years ago, there was something that became known as concert halls. And so before that time, we didn't have this division. We didn't have listeners and performers. Everybody performed. It wasn't even something that you judged. But then continued over the years that we really had that division, and people made that decision pretty early on. And sometimes parents made that decision for kids, which side they were going to be on, the listeners or the performers. So now here we are 400 years later, and the performers are, we see them on TV, we hear them on the radio, and what do? We judged ourselves against them. But the thing is, we're not in that same category. And we can still appreciate music and produce music, but with a different set of rules. We don't need to judge it of, am I in tune? Am I projecting? How's my sound? All of these things we can leave to the professionals. But instead, we can take all of the amazing gifts that music can give us as just a novice. So think in terms of, we've got NASCAR drivers out there. They're amazing drivers. They spend, years perfecting their art. But, it's weird because how come we all still are okay to drive a car? I mean, do you get out of the car and be like, you judge your driving? Oh, I stopped at that stop sign so like a badass. Or, I went around that car and I was going 90. I'm such a sweet driver. No, you don't even think about it. It is what it is. So what if you were able to pull back and not judge your musical abilities and instead be able to just find all the riches in it? It's a stress reliever. To be able to just sing in the shower, it's an opportunity to just relax and have fun and enjoy the sounds of different songs, sing along to your favorite songs, have them trigger memories, maybe when you were back in high school, what it was like, kind of get you out of maybe a funk if you're feeling it. So sing it out. If you know how to play the piano a little bit, play a little bit. That's actually a skill. I teach a ukulele class to adults. And it's so much fun to hear their progression because a lot of them come in with that limiting belief. I can't. Mm-hmm. I'm not musical. And I say to them, this is going to be a skill. And if you want to work at it, you want to practice, you're going to get there and, you're going to be able to play 3 chords in 4 weeks and all these songs. And the first week, they're like, there's no way. By the 4 weeks, they're blown away with what they can do. So don't set, those I guess, the way that we make things not be able, we can't do certain things because we have all these, I don't know, limiting beliefs. I guess that's the only way I can say. So get out of your comfort zone and try. Maybe that is something that you've always wanted to try, to learn an instrument. Don't let, I'm not musical, I can't, I'm too old, my hands are too big, all of these things stand in your way because there's this whole other world out there waiting for you to discover.
Yeah, I really loved your race car analogy. I just think that made a lot of sense. And yeah, people are too busy comparing themselves to the professionals as opposed to, okay, just have fun. Like you said, you have your own set of rules. So to beers, you don't have to be a race car driver. Just get in the car and drive. You're a badass. You can figure it out as you go.
That's right.
So Jocelyn, let's pivot a little bit and talk about some of your wins.
Okay.
Can you share with us something that you're most proud of accomplishing?
I am most proud of accomplishing keeping a business going for as long as I have. And sometimes I forget about that. I forget that, the old, and I guess it's true that so many businesses fail in the first couple of years. And I guess I didn't even have that as an option. I didn't even think of that as an option. I was just going for it. And so I slowly grew until I grew a team of 7 teachers, and we would see over 1,500 kids a week in and around Seattle. That meant that I was impacting all of those kids with my vision through these teachers who were going out with a message. But I would forget that. And then when I would kind of sometimes maybe explain to somebody what I did, I would be like, oh my goodness, like I built this, I did this. So that's been a huge accomplishment. This month right now is the 17th year in business, and I can't believe it. I'm 20 years old, so I don't know how that.
No, that's awesome. Congratulations. That's exciting. What is something that most people don't know about what it took to accomplish that?
Being willing to hear no, being willing to have employees who, well, first off, just having an employee. That was a big piece for me because, I was teaching all the classes. I was then home doing all the back end things. And Eric would say to me, let's hire someone. And I'm like, no, it's the Jocelyn show. Like, I named it Musically Minded because even I think at the beginning, Eric was like, well, you don't want to have it be Jocelyn's music, because what if you want to bring somebody else on? So I was glad that I had a name that didn't have my name in it. But, I was like, oh, I don't know. They're not going to be very good. And these people are going to be, they're going to be not upset because it's not who they hired. And so we hired our first teacher, and guess what? He was awful. He was awful. And it was like, oh my goodness. I did see what it was like, though, to be able to not have to go teach every day. And so that gave me a little bit of sense of, okay, if I could, source some of these classes, it'd be pretty awesome. So we let him go. And then the next teacher that I hired was fantastic. She was amazing. And she grew with us, and we grew the business. I filled her schedule. I filled my schedule. And it was what I needed. Like, I needed to see that you really actually can hire somebody and it can work out. So I needed to have that. And then along the way, I look back now, and I've had a couple not very good teachers, but for the most part, I've been really blessed to have really awesome people who, the schools that we will go out to really embrace, and they're understanding that it's not always going to be Jocelyn. And if we switch out a teacher, they trust me that I'm going to bring in somebody else. So, that was definitely big.
Yeah. So, 17 years in business is a long time. And what is it that you attribute to your success, to hanging on this long and doing so well?
Yeah. And I do want to make a point. I would love for you to ask me about what happened in March.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So what's attributed to my success is to continue to follow up with the schools that we go to, just constantly checking in, making sure everything is okay, being willing to hear the things that they want changed, and like stepping up and changing things. If a teacher's not working, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to observe that teacher, and I'm going to work with that teacher to make sure that we're always bringing quality to the classroom, and just being okay. I've lost schools. I've lost schools because they lost their funding, or they decided that they wanted to have an art class, and just being able to not take it so personally and just be like, all right, it's okay. Because there's always a plan, and there's always a reason things work out the way that they do. And in that moment, it's so easy to get down and upset and feel like it's the end of the road. But I always believe that, one door closes and another door opens, and I have to trust the process. I have to trust that there is a plan, and I continue to be taken care of, and taking one day at a time, just out there doing my best.
And do you think that kind of came with experience a little bit, or have you been that way since the beginning?
No. Oh, no. That came with experience. I remember the first couple calls I got, and maybe the school's going to stop doing music, or, somebody doesn't like a teacher. And I was devastated. Oh my goodness. I couldn't even handle it. Like, I couldn't even see any other options. My emotional brain took over, and my planning brain was nowhere in sight. And so for me now, I'm able to calm down, breathe, relax. And that's just important, because I think sometimes when you're upset, you can make some emotional decisions that later you'll regret. And so just being able to all right, step back, calm down. Obstacles are opportunities. And that was for me a real important quote. And I read it every day. Obstacles are opportunities. And it's really helped, because I recognize it. I can get through anything.
Yes. And honestly, I think that's part of the badass journey. It's hitting all these obstacles and not sitting there and beating yourself up and calling yourself stupid and just getting so upset that you can't go on, or you're just like, I quit, I suck at this. No,
Yeah.
it's figuring it out, either recognizing the opportunity. Sometimes it's hard in the moment,
Yeah.
but just knowing that you'll figure out a way to pivot and get through it.
Yeah.
So kind of on that note, I think maybe you pivoted in March. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I do. I'm still pivoting, but so here I am, 16 years at that point in business. And this crazy COVID thing, I hate that word, but
I'm with you.
I can't wait for it to go away.
Me too.
I started, schools closed or they didn't allow outsiders in. So all of a sudden, I went from rocking my business, and actually I was set up for the biggest year yet. I had summer camps planned. I had this amazing program I was bringing in. I had more schools than I'd ever imagined. Teachers were doing incredible. I mean, I was at the top until I wasn't. And so it was interesting because classes ended probably, the third week in March. And I remember I probably had a day or two where I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? And then I remembered that those kids are still out there. They still need me. And so I got on Facebook and I started to do little live music classes, and I would do one a week. And I found that it brought me joy. It didn't bring me money, but it brought me joy, and
Right.
It kept me off the news. But then, a couple weeks into it, I'm like, I got to figure out a way to monetize this because, there was no unemployment at that point for small business owners. There was nothing. So I had to figure out what to do. And so I started weekly classes, so weekly music classes on Zoom, and parents would sign their kids up. And it was actually even better because Facebook Lives are hard because you can't see anybody out there, so you don't know what their reactions are.
Yeah.
And so then with the Zooms, it's like, I can see these kids. They're in their house. They're shaking their shakers. They're getting out their ukuleles. And it was like, I can still do this. I can still reach these kids. I can bring these families joy, and they're bringing me joy. So I did that. And then at the same time, I decided, what am I going to do for teachers? Because I have been starting to build this group, this Facebook group, doing these teacher trainings. And I knew that I needed to do something for that community as well. And so I finally had the time to create a ukulele class. And so I didn't really know what I was doing. I know enough. And, I think Amy Porterfield says, you just need to know 10% more than your people.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, I have that. So I had my 3 chords, figured out my songs, and I launched my very first, yes, you can play the ukulele class. And, I was a little bit worried, like, would people be able to afford it? But what happened was it really just worked out because there were so many people who were home. And I kind of got them with, hey, remember how you always wanted to learn to play an instrument? Like, what's your excuse? Time's on your side. And I had 80 people sign up for the class.
Oh, wow.
And one of them was my dad.
That's awesome.
Which was so much fun because he'd wanted to play the ukulele forever, but I just had never really had the time to sit down and teach him. And so every week I would make the next week's videos. Like, I was 1 week behind, and it was so much fun. And I've gone on to, then this summer I did a circle time online class for teachers. And then I did another ukulele. I just did the ukulele class again, that level 1 ukulele class. And now on Sunday, I'm going to launch a club, and it's called the Keeping It Fresh Club for Teachers. And so I'm thinking, like, this might be my new thing. I'm hoping when schools come back on and they let us back in, that we can get that going. But in the meantime, I'm creating a second business, and I'm going to stay positive and keep working at it because I know that there's people out there, there's teachers out there who need me to help them bring the joy, because right now it is hard to be a teacher.
Yes, it's so hard to be a teacher, and even for parents, because nobody's ever had to do this before, or
Yeah.
at least not in our time, you know, so it's
Yeah.
a whole bunch of shuffling and figuring things out. So I love that you just kind of pivoted and figured it out as you went. But, and if this hadn't happened, maybe you wouldn't have figured out the second business.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been sitting on this club idea for 10 years. I've been sitting on that ukulele class idea for, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years. And that's what I think is really crazy about this is it's been really stressful, you know, thinking about what has happened to my current business. But it's also I always am looking for the silver lining. I'm always wondering what's the lesson here. And really, to me, I believe that the universe has given all of us who are in a position to take this opportunity to try something new, to really put ourselves out there and to look back at our life and say, you know, what do we want to be remembered for? And am I doing the thing I want to be remembered for? And if not, why? Is it out of fear? And I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons that I held back in the past is fear of failure. But if I keep in mind the person who I am working for, whether it's, you know, 3-year-old Claire who's coming to my music class, or, you know, 40-year-old Pam who lives down in Florida who needs me to give her ideas, that's what my focus is. And when you do that, the fear goes away and the courage to just do something, it's there. And it's so important to tap into that.
Yeah. And I think there's that old saying, like, what you focus on grows. So if you focus on the fear, you know, that's where you're going to just get overwhelmed with fear. But if you're focused on the kid or why you're doing it, yeah, that's important and probably very helpful just as far as your mindset goes and not getting stuck in the fear.
Yep, absolutely.
So you talked about fear of failure, and I know that that's a hard thing for a lot of people to get over, that just the fear of it. They don't even take action. What do you do when you find yourself stuck in fear?
Identify it. I almost look at myself from an outsider's perspective. Like I almost have sort of an out of body experience and I recognize, all right, you're feeling this right now. You're feeling this. And I want you to recognize that this is what you want and you're going to feel it. So know that feeling is going to come no matter what. It's going to be right by my side, and just like allowing it to ride with me and knowing that the only way I can overcome it is to show myself that I can do it. So I've got this quote up here: the best things happen on the other side of your comfort zone. And I mean, it's front and center at my desk because I have to keep looking at that. Because if I don't, then I will fill my life with regrets. And I will look back. And if you look at people on their deathbed, that's one of the biggest things. The regrets of the things that they didn't do. And oftentimes it was because they were too afraid to do it. And I think what's worse is to never try. I think it's more courageous to be able to say, I did. And that alone can be the win. Whether you didn't failed or you did and you won, it's that you did it. So changing really, you know, what you are judging it on, you know, I don't know, just doing it, just making the call, just picking up the phone, whatever the result is after on the phone call, it doesn't matter, but it's celebrating the action that you did it. You're taking one step at a time towards reaching those goals that you know you came on this earth to do. Yeah.
And when do you ever regret something that you tried? Like usually we don't, you know, if you tried it, you got in the game, you did it, you fail. Okay. At least you did it. Like we usually don't.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes I regret, you know, that third glass of wine.
Yes. The following morning, maybe.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned about being able to look for the silver lining. It sounds like you're able to be pretty positive, or at least get yourself back on a positive track. Do you have any sort of like gratitude practice?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I have this morning routine that I go through, and no, don't get me wrong. I don't do it every morning, but I've got a list, literally a list, like I kind of think of it as my manager, because I like to think creative. I like to go all over the place with my thoughts, and I need something to center me. And so I have a list of the things that I do. I get up, I drink coffee, I read something inspirational, and then I write down the things that I'm grateful for. Or, I might even say, like, what's awesome today, what's awesome right now. And then I go through, all the things that I want to remind myself about. Some, affirmations, what's important to me, what I need to make my day run well. What are some of those cornerstone pieces? I need to make sure I exercise because I know that makes me feel good. I know I need to eat. I know I need what's for dinner. So, just doing all of those things along with that gratitude piece, it puts me in a place to begin my day ready to go, ready to take it all on, because I'm in a good spot. I'm ready. But I've noticed on the days where I don't go through all that, and sometimes if I'll wake up in the morning and I slept in, and boom, it's right off. Like, kids need to eat, if there were school, I have to get out the door, and I notice my day is just a whirlwind, and I'm not in control of my day. But when I set the tone at the beginning, going through what I'm grateful for, really focusing on what's important, I feel in control of my day.
Yes. And I can relate to you. Like, I love doing a morning practice, but I don't always do it.
Yeah.
But it does make a difference in kind of how the rest of the day tends to go.
Yeah.
So can you share a habit or a practice that has contributed to your success?
Well, personally or business?
You choose.
Okay, so I would say in business, one of my biggest things that I have done is decided where I wanted to go. Whether mostly it's, somewhat short term, 90-ish days, 6 months, something like that. And then kind of going back and figuring out, well, if those are my big goals, what am I going to do every day to achieve them? So I have, for me, I have gone through so many different types of planners, and I am always trying to find like the perfect planner that works really well for me. And I have to say, I finally found one, and it's called, here it is. See if it has its name on it. The Full Focus Planner. So Full Focus Planner. And you know what? I don't use it the way that they want you to use it. Like, you're supposed to write every Sunday all these things and your wins. And I love that idea, and I do it once in a while. But I think for me, what it does is you write down the 3 daily big 3. So you write down the 3 big things that you want to get done. And then the next thing that I do is on the side there, the times for the day are written out. And so the night before, when I'm not emotional about my day yet, and I'm more factual, I will write down my schedule, because being a business owner, I have no manager to tell me what to do. And so sometimes I'll get off task and I'll just start doing something that it doesn't help me move forward. It's like a top layer task. It's not going to help my business move forward. But when I go back and then I look at that, I'm like, 9 a.m., I need to be answering my emails. Oh, and at 10 a.m., I need to be working on this project. That has helped me so much to stay focused. I cannot even begin to tell you. I got so much progress since I've started doing that.
Is that the John Lee Dumas planner?
No, Michael Hyatt.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that one, but I haven't tried it yet. So I'll have to give it a try.
Yeah,
so,
it's great.
Jocelyn, how often do you read, and can you recommend a book and share why?
I read every night, but I only read fiction at night. During the day, if I want to read, like in the morning, I'm okay with reading nonfiction, like personal development business books. But I notice that actually inspires me. I just like one book that I love is an author is Brian Tracy. So, gosh, I'm trying to think of what the name of that Brian Tracy book is. I read it all the time, but it's like something about self-discipline. And so I will literally keep turning and just reading different sections of that book. And it really helps to motivate me, because self-discipline is the cornerstone as a business owner to keep pushing yourself forward. So that would be my business book to recommend. And then the personal book, the fiction book that I would recommend would be, I really like that Kristen Hanna's book. It's called The Nightingale. And I got sort of into this, you know, German, French time. I just kept reading all these books about Holocaust, and it's such an incredibly painful time. But I think for me, I just love the heroes that come out of that, and the way that people are so courageous, and the things that they've gone through that they can come out on the other end. So I just love being a fly on the wall in those books.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I will definitely have to put them in the show notes, and I might follow up with you and ask about the Brian Tracy book if I can't find it.
Yes, yes, for sure.
So let's end with a tip to encourage women who are in the arena fighting for the life that they want.
Number one, you got to know what life you want. You got to be super clear. And then number two, the next thing is you want to send intention out to the world, because we create vibrations, and those vibrations, they can be negative or they can be positive. But when we ask the world, we want, this is what I want, this is what I want my life to look like, or even say it as if like right now, I have a note up here. I have an amazing online business that grosses X amount serving teachers and families. It's not true right now, but I act as if. And I feel like just by having those actions out there, the universe knows that I'm serious. And so I can ask for something small, but the universe doesn't know, because it just knows I'm asking. And so I feel like putting that intention out there is such a great way. And then just to continue to remind yourself that you're here for a reason. What's your purpose? And what are you going to do every single day to serve others? And in turn, you'll be taking care of yourself.
Yes, so powerful. And I think that putting your intention out there is huge. And like you said, having reminders, because that also helps you to believe it yourself. Like if you
Yes.
keep thinking about it and visualizing it, like it's going to happen, you make it a thing.
Yeah. And it's action. I mean, I think there was definitely time in my life where I would have these different ideas and business ideas that I wanted to do, but it was in my dreamer phase. So I was just dreaming about it. I never decided like what actions I needed to take. And you know what? The actions sometimes can be so boring and drudgery, but that's what you have to go through. You've got to decide what steps you need to take, because you can dream all day long, but until you take action, there's nothing.
I totally agree with you. Thank you so much. And can you share how we connect with you?
Yes, I've got my website is musicallyminded.net. You can find me on Facebook at Musically Minded Seattle, and on Instagram at Musically Minded Kids.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. You've been a total badass, and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it. Wasn't Jocelyn such a badass? I really enjoyed hearing her talk. One thing that I really liked, or that really resonated with me, is when she said, I know what it's like to hate Sundays because Mondays are coming. Have you ever felt that way? Or you hate your job, or you hate the way that your life is going, and it just makes you dread the next day? Something to think about. I also liked how Jocelyn asks herself, what's the next lesson here? Or she said she's always wondering, what's the lesson here? So important. When we're going through hard times, it is hard to see on the other side, or hard to get out of the pain or the uncertainty that we are feeling. But consider asking yourself, what's the lesson here? And the third thing that I really loved is how Jocelyn said, when I asked her about dancing and singing, how you can do that, even if you're not comfortable with it. And I loved Jocelyn's answer. She said, somehow we get this idea that we either belong on the stage or we belong in the audience. So powerful. And then she went on to talk about like race car drivers, or when you go drive on a daily basis, you don't compare yourself to the race car drivers. So why should you compare your singing or dancing to the professionals on the stage? I thought that was so powerful. I loved that analogy. So if you loved this episode with Jocelyn, please head on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review letting us know what you thought of the episode. And then, of course, make sure to screenshot it and send it to me on Instagram at Ordinary to Badass so that I can properly thank you. Until next week, keep pursuing your badassery.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.